Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Less Stress, More Peace and Happiness Summit. My name is Janine Wooten. I'm so happy that you're joining us. This has been such a great collection of people, and we've just learned so many great tactics and skills and techniques for reducing stress and creating a peaceful state of mind. Today, I want to introduce you to going to be really happy to learn from Kelly Smith. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Kelly and then we'll bring her on. Kelly Smith is a globally celebrated yoga and meditation teacher, ERYT 500, YACEP, founder of Yoga for You, and host of the iTunes chart topping podcasts, Mindful in Minutes and Meditation Mama. Kelly believes that there is not a one-size-fits-all approach to yoga and meditation and encourages her students to find their own personal practice, listen to their bodies, and find inner joy by accessing their most authentic selves and owning their power. Kelly specializes in the non-physical limbs of yoga and is best known for her master trainings in meditation, restorative yoga, and yoga nidra, and her international retreats. Please welcome with me Kelly Smith.
Hi. How are you?
I am well. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm so good. I'm looking forward to chatting about meditation and sharing what I love.
I'm so happy that you're going to join us. I am going to give you the foreground and I'm going to put your title up. And we are going to let you have the floor. So if you don't mind, I love starting everyone with their personal story. So how did you come to where you are now and doing the work you're doing now? Just tell us a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Sure. So I came to meditation through yoga. So I started a yoga practice when I was young, like 14 or 15. I was doing it as like cross training for my sports. I was always an athlete. And then when I was 16, my mom was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer, and I was her primary caregiver at the time.
Wow.
And that's when I was first really introduced to some of the softer sides of yoga, some of the more therapeutic sides of yoga, even meditation, guided visualization. I didn't know that's what it was at the time, but that was my first time experiencing that. And my mom is in remission now, so that part has a happy ending, which we love.
Very good. Very good.
Yes. But I still felt this pull to kind of go and check the boxes and take the traditional route. So although I was always feeling kind of pulled towards yoga, I went to college and, got a degree and that piece of paper that I don't use,
Right.
but I have it. And after I graduated college, I still didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. So I took my first yoga teacher training. And again, I was introduced to meditation. And it really it was something that I was always intrigued in, but never like really dove deeply into until a few years later when we moved I moved with my husband to a different part of the US for his schooling. And there I ended up opening my own yoga studio. And I found that my students were asking about meditation and that they could really benefit from it, but I didn't feel like I had the tools in my toolbox to share that with them. So I started on my own personal journey to really learn not only about meditation, but how to incorporate it into my life and then be able to share it with others. And since then, things have continued to kind of grow and evolve and change. And it has now led to more of the work that I'm doing now, which is I have 2 guided meditation podcasts. One is called Mindful in Minutes. It was my baby before babies. So it's about 5 years old. There's about 350 guided meditations on there for different topics and links. And then I have one called Meditation Mama, which is for prenatal, fertility, and postnatal meditations. And then I am an author of a book called Mindful in Minutes, the meditation guide for the modern family. So it's all just kind of grown and evolved since there. And now I love to help people learn how kind of not so serious and not so hard meditation can be, but also what a powerful little micro habit it can be to incorporate into your day-to-day life.
Exactly. I agree. I love that. I love hearing people's personal stories and how they arrived where they are. I just think it's really interesting. And you touched on something that I wanted to ask because I remember I've been through periods of time in my life where I'm practicing meditation more regularly than other times. And it is definitely a wonderful practice, and I can see the benefits. But then, sometimes we fall out of the habit or out of the routine, or probably during the times when you need it the most, when stress takes over and you can't find time. Now that I'm speaking it out, I'm realizing that. But I think a lot of people have a mindset about meditation that me in the beginning, like, I don't feel like I'm doing it right. Or if I do get into that really nice calm place, then I get sleepy. So, how would you advise someone who's new to meditation?
Yeah, and I love this kind of question because one of the most common things that I hear when people hear that I'm a meditation teacher or at like a dinner party or something like that
Mhm.
is, yeah, I usually hear about why people don't meditate, and they're like, "Oh, that's so cool. I tried meditation once and I
Exactly.
couldn't turn my brain off, or I wasn't sure if I was doing it right," is one of the more common ones, or I want to try but I don't really know like how to do it or how to do it right.
Hmm.
And so I always tell people that meditation is not that hard and not that serious. And I really mean it because I think we build it up to be something really big and important and, this big thing in our minds. And
Right.
it can be that if you want it to, but it doesn't have to be that.
Mm.
So meditation itself is just single pointed concentration. So the way that I like to describe it is if our minds are a light bulb, we're walking around every day, having this conversation, listening to this, whatever it is, the light bulb's just on and kind of shining.
Mm-hmm.
When we meditate, we're turning that light bulb into a laser pointer. So we're
Uh,
taking all of that mental power and we're focusing it on just one thing. And that could be your breath. That could be,
mhm.
sitting with how you're feeling. That could be listening to the words of a guide to a guided meditation. But it's taking all of that mental power, taking that light and turning it to a
Mhm.
laser pointer that focuses on one thing. And so I always tell people if you're doing that, if you're trying your best to just focus on one thing, it's not turning the light bulb off and having no thoughts. It's not
Mhm.
magically, going to this peaceful place where there's like nothingness. It's just
Uh,
kind of training your brain to be able to focus on one thing at a time for an extended amount of time. And studies tell us that 8 to 10 minutes a day is enough to get the mental, physical, and emotional benefits of meditation. So we only have to do it for about 10 minutes and that's it.
and surely everybody can find 8 to 10 minutes when they understand the benefit, right? And
Yeah,
I like the way you said it, because it took a lot of pressure off. Like,
mhm.
so just do it. Just do it.
Yeah, and you can focus on anything. I always think guided
Mhm.
meditations, especially if you're starting, is such a great place to start. It's just like when you go to a yoga class or a fitness class. Sometimes it's easier to go to a class and have a guide kind of walk you through the
Mhm.
movement
Mhm.
instead of just rolling out a mat and trying to do it without knowing at home. I think sometimes it's really beneficial to just have that guide that can walk you through the practice and you just have to listen to their instruction.
Uh-huh.
But focusing on your breath is a really common one. Or you can focus on the different senses. So, what am I hearing? What do I feel? What do I
Mhm.
smell? Anything. If you're just focusing on that single thing, um, you're meditating. And so
So
it's
that's
really,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, it's really not that hard. We build it up to be so much bigger than it actually is. And I think some common misconceptions are that you have to
Yes.
meditate first thing in the morning, which you don't. So if you're not a morning person, don't meditate in the morning. You can meditate at night or on your lunch break, or that you have to do it for 30 minutes. You don't. 10 minutes is enough.
Mhm.
Or that you're like sitting, you have to sit crisscross applesauce. You don't. You can lay down. You can sit in a chair.
Oh, nice,
Um,
nice.
yeah, it's just single point of concentration. That's it.
Okay. So just being comfortable, like it's okay to just be in a chair and just be. I would think being comfortable is probably for me one of the biggest things, because if I'm trying to meditate, I might all of a sudden then you notice this itch or
Yeah.
this, it seems like something's always pulling at your attention to distract you.
Absolutely. As long as your spine is long and you can breathe without anything getting in the way, it
Mm,
works. So, like I said, that might be sitting in a chair. Maybe that is sitting crisscross applesauce. It could be, I personally like to lay down and like have my knees bent. Um,
mhm.
floor, that feels good to me.
Mm.
So any position that works for your body is perfect.
Nice, nice. So, do you have an example for us of a client story where doing a practice of meditation has been able to help them reduce stress? I'm sure there are plenty.
Yeah, one instead of like one particular client, I would
Mm-hmm.
say one of the more common something that I hear really frequently that I think is really cool, is when clients come and they tell me that they used to be kind of like hot-headed on the road or maybe like have a little bit of like road rage and that they just don't it just doesn't bother them as much. And I
Mm-hmm.
love how meditation kind of just I always think of it as like softening the edges.
Uh,
So maybe where you're driving and someone cuts you off and it's, you're really quick to kind of get reactive and to get heated about it. Or, I have kids, so maybe your kids are kind of just pushing your buttons and it just takes that one
mm-hmm.
little thing and you kind of, snap at them or whatever it is. That once people start to meditate regularly and just incorporating this into their day, they notice these small, subtle changes where like
Mm-hmm.
the little things don't turn into big things anymore. So usually it's like road rage or snapping at, our partners, our spouses, or our kids.
Yeah.
Also just like not maybe being as reactive to certain situations like in the
Uh-huh.
workplace. And that's probably one of the most common things I hear. And it makes me feel really good to hear that because those are like real world things that make a big difference, right? Like if you're driving
Absolutely.
around and like you just don't get as worked up on the road, like that's
Exactly.
great. If you're just living your life, you're a parent and you don't sweat the small stuff as much, like that's fantastic. Whatever it is,
Absolutely.
or people just feel just a little bit happier and more at peace with
More
themselves. Like,
peaceful. Yes.
yeah, like what a beautiful gift and what a beautiful way to show up in your life. And
Exactly.
so, and that I hear very consistently across the board from my clients as one of the first big shifts that they see within themselves through
Mm.
meditation.
I love the way you described it as just a general softening because definitely, like, even that little bit of peace, a little bit more peace in your day, and like you said, how you show up, it's going to change everything.
Mhm. And I think it just makes life a little bit easier. Like if you just soften those edges a little bit, it really is
Mm.
the real world stuff. You show up for your flight and it's a little bit delayed and you're like, you know, doesn't mean it isn't annoying, but maybe you don't get as irritated about it
Right,
anymore.
right.
Or, whatever it
Take it
is,
as
it's
an
just,
opportunity to do a meditation. You got an extra 8 minutes to do a
yeah,
meditation.
absolutely. You got it. It's just like, you know what? It is what it is. You just kind of, it's a little bit
Right,
easier to exist without those big kind of emotional swings.
right. So I was going to ask you too. I've heard a lot of people say, and again, I'm thinking back with myself when I first started meditating. You did mention it's not about having no thoughts, and originally I thought that's what it was. Like you have to get to a point where you're seeing the black chalkboard and nothing else, and not thinking. And they would say, if a thought comes, you acknowledge it and you let the thought go by. I have a really hard time turning my mind off. My mind is going all the time, so I love that you said that's not a requirement. You can still get the benefit of it.
Hmm.
So what happens then for somebody like that, somebody who believes that, and then you're like, I can't stop the mind. And then once you start thinking about that, forget it. Then it's
Yeah,
we're
it's
not even
so
trying.
it's so tricky, and that's probably one of the most common things that I hear is people always say, "Oh, I can never meditate, like my mind's too busy. I can't shut off my mind." And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Me either. This is my career and we never really
It's
want to
still,
fully like shut off our minds, but I think of it as like the thoughts are kind of like the hamster running in the wheel,
mm-hmm,
right? And
mm-hmm,
it's just going and going and going and
right.
going. And even if through meditation we kind of slow down that spinning of the wheel,
Mm-hmm,
that's incredibly beneficial. Also, a big piece of meditation is recognizing that we're going to have thoughts and we're going to have distractions. And I always encourage my students
mm-hmm,
actually to embrace the thoughts and the distractions because they're what strengthen and train your mind. So it's like if you were to go to the gym and use weights and resistance bands, those tools are what make your muscles stronger. The thoughts
mm-hmm,
and the distractions is what's going to make your mind stronger as you meditate. So it might not be about not having thoughts or ever getting distracted, but maybe when we begin meditation, we get distracted every 5 seconds. But then over time, maybe we get distracted every 10 seconds or every 15 seconds. And that's how we can really kind of gauge when the space between the thoughts and the distractions get a little bit greater
Mhm.
and we can
Mhm.
focus for even just that little bit more. That's how we know that we're really improving upon that single pointed concentration or
Yeah.
that ability to really dial in and focus on something.
I like that. That's a great analogy. So you suggest starting with 8 to 10 minutes. What
Mhm.
would you say then? So we're strengthening our ability to just calm and focus.
Mhm.
What would you say once somebody's at the point? What do you grow to? Is 30 minutes a day or 30 minutes a day a couple times a day? Is there something that's ideal or is it different for everyone?
It's different for everyone. I say if 8 to 10 minutes is working for you, fantastic. Just stick with that. If you're feeling a desire to do more, you absolutely can, but you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to. So when it comes to meditation and really kind of creating the sustainable practice that's going to actually stick, is you want it to feel easy, you want it to
Mm-hmm.
feel sustainable, you want it to feel like something that adds value to your life and not like another thing to check off of the to-do list. So I
Mm-hmm.
usually tell people if like 10 minutes a day for you feels like that good sweet spot, fantastic. There may be a point in which you'll want to add a little bit more time,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no like finish line. There's no final level of like
Okay.
when you're doing this, then you know like you've hit the ultimate peak of meditation. It's
Right.
more about like doing and less about like meditation being another thing that you like achieve or
Uh-huh.
excel at or because that just kind of feeds like our need for perfectionism or
Right.
our need to,
Right.
do more, be more, improve. And meditation isn't about doing, it's just about being.
Mm.
So I don't know if there's really like a final point. I think just if you're doing it, that is amazing and fantastic.
You'll
And I
know.
usually just tell people, start with your 10 minutes a day, maybe listen to a guided meditation, sit with your feelings, focus on your breath. I
Mm-hmm.
find that people are more likely to stick to a practice if they do the first 10 minutes of the day or the last 10 minutes of the day,
Mm.
only because if you think about the course of your day and how many twists and turns it'll have or things that will pop up. Like how
Mm-hmm.
many times have we intended to do something
Right.
today? Do something today. And then before you know it, it's the end of the day and you never got around to that thing. Syncing up your meditation with bedtime,
Exactly.
either before you go to sleep or right when you wake up, kind of habit stacking in that way,
Uh-huh.
I find is much more sustainable for many people. So
Yeah.
and neither one is better than the other. Pick the one that feels like you're most likely to stick to it. Like if you're not a morning person, don't start waking up earlier to meditate. You're probably less likely to stick to it. And then you just do your 10 minutes. And when you're done, you're done. And that's it. And then the next day, we just do the same thing. And you'll start to, over time, maybe after a couple of weeks, really feel some of those subtle softenings in different areas, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is really cool. You do also kind of feel that immediate um, stress relief,
Right.
just even slowing down for a few moments is so good for your stress. But then over time, after a couple of weeks, you see kind of that softening happening in other areas too.
Right. It really is so powerful, isn't it? It's interesting that people don't do it more.
Well, we're very good at not doing the things that are probably best for us.
That's
I
the
do it
truth.
too. People always assume that because I'm a meditation teacher that I meditate every single day. And like some
Uh-huh.
days I just don't get to it. Even
Right.
though I know, I've literally written a book on how great meditation is for you.
Right.
And
Right.
every once in a while, I have little ones and a
Life.
business that I run and life and all of that. And
Just
like
life.
sometimes it doesn't happen. And that's okay. Like we're really good at not always at filling our time with things that may not necessarily serve our greatest and highest good, and
Right.
then letting the things that do serve our greatest and highest good kind of fall down to the bottom of the priority list.
Absolutely. And like you said, that's just kind of the human condition, isn't it? And
Yeah.
but it sounds like a lot of what you're saying is just to be okay with that and let go of some of the expectations and just be with it as often as you can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And over time, as you continue to meditate and you build this practice, like when I work with new clients and they're working on a daily meditation practice, they're
Mhm.
most likely to quit kind of after like that 2-week mark. that second week, like the newness has kind of worn off, but they don't fully kind of feel some of the benefits in their life yet. So I always tell people to really shoot for like every day for like 3 weeks. And
Okay.
then usually around that 3 week mark, it's kind of like if you incorporate maybe some more movement into your day or exercise, or maybe
Mhm.
adding, some extra vegetables into your diet.
Mhm.
When you stop doing it, it's like you don't even notice the benefit until you stop doing it. And you're like, oh, why do I feel so stiff and
Mhm.
creaky today? Or like, why is my energy low? Or why am I feeling a little bit irritated? And so usually if you can do every day for about 3 weeks, that
Okay.
gets you to about that point where if you miss it, you notice and you're like, oh shoot, I really,
Right.
I need to take that time for myself,
Yeah.
because it really has kind of seeped into different parts of your life at that point.
That's actually a question I was going to ask you. Like, will obviously then get to a point where um, you feel like you need it or you miss it if you don't do it. So, um,
Absolutely.
and like
So
you said,
shoot for
even
every day for
uh-huh.
3 weeks, and then
Okay.
see how you feel.
Right.
And then if you do every day for, it usually takes about 8 weeks to start seeing some changes, even on a neurological level, like
Oh wow.
where the anxiety, fear center of our brain begins to shrink, and then the focus, concentration, and emotion regulation part of our brain begins to get a little bit bigger and stronger. So you can even see these changes on like a neurological level, usually around like that 8 week mark, which is pretty cool.
That's amazing, and that's really good to know because I can definitely next time I'll stop being so start and stop with it and shoot for that 8 weeks for sure.
Yeah, who doesn't love to change their brain for the good?
Oh my gosh,
Uh,
right?
yeah, and all right, we only have the one brain, so we have to take care of it for sure.
Right. And then we only use what 5 to 10% of it. Can you imagine?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I know it's, we're not using it all. I especially feel that way now being pregnant. Pregnancy brain is a real
Right.
thing. It's like
Yeah.
maybe my 5% of usage is down to like 2%.
It'll get normal again, I promise.
Yes.
When you have grandkids, that's where we are.
Well, good. I'll look forward to that. When my children
Right.
are having children, finally I'll get my brain back.
Oh, but it's such a great phase of life you're in. So it
Mm.
does. People will tell you it goes fast. Let me tell you, like it goes so fast. So enjoy every moment, even the stressful ones.
I know it does.
Yeah.
It seems like as soon as you have a child, it's like someone hit like the fast forward button, and it's all just like
Yes.
speeding by. But I mean, that's something where I even like to kind of incorporate into my life, of like knowing when things are moving really fast, taking these small little moments to pause
Hmm.
is really special and beneficial to um, just for like staying present and just kind of bearing witness as to what's happening around, even if what's happening around feels really busy and chaotic. It's still like you can
Right.
take these little snapshots along the way.
Mm. I like that. That's a great practice. And that's a great segue into my next question, which was, do you have any simple actionable steps? I know you've given some already in the conversation, but simple things that people can do. Um, and I guess that would be just start with the 8 minutes and the focus, trying to
Mhm.
focus and not being so hard on themselves. But is there anything that you'd like to add to that?
Hmm. I
Or
think,
maybe I'm wondering too, maybe you would like to, I didn't know, I'll open it up to if you'd like to do a little guided meditation for us. We have a few minutes left if that's something that you would like to do. And if not, that's fine too.
I would love to do that, because I think the hardest part for most people about meditation is just getting started.
Hmm.
So whoever is watching this, they can get started just by doing one. So if
Okay,
you're
I
open
love
to it,
that.
we
I
can
love
just
that.
do a quick little 5 minutes, if that sounds good.
Yeah, yeah, let's do it. Let's
Cool.
do an
Okay,
example. Since you've already spoken about, the way to do it, let's do a demonstration. I
let's
love
do
that.
it. Okay, so wherever you're at, go ahead and get comfortable so you can kind of create a long spine, maybe close down the eyes if that feels good to you. And then just taking a few big deep breaths. So just inhaling through the nose, and then open mouth exhale and just sighing it out. Doing that 2 more times. And one more big deep breath, inhaling through the nose And just open mouth exhale, just sighing it out, letting it go. And then taking a mental scan of your body. So just noticing any areas where maybe you're squeezing or clenching or holding on to tension. And on your next exhale, let that tension go just by breathing it out. Let the muscles soften, let the body become heavy and at rest. And then bring your awareness to your breath. Just being aware of your breath, noticing how it feels. When you inhale and when you exhale, where does the breath go in your body? What does the breath feel like? What is its texture? What is its pace? Is it fast? Is it slow? And then just begin to slow down your breath, letting every inhale and exhale be completely effortless but nourishing. Feeling the air as it moves into the body on the inhale and as it leaves the body on the exhale. And then giving yourself the gift just of a few quiet moments, just letting yourself be and breathe. And taking a big deep breath in through the nose. And open mouth exhale and just sighing it out. And just fluttering the eyes open, returning to the space. And you meditated. Good job. How did that feel?
Really, that was so lovely. You have such a perfect voice for it too.
Oh, I appreciate that so much. I always love, hearing that.
Yeah, no, really nice. Yeah, I think we definitely need to make time for it, everyone. Make time for it. It is so important. And yeah, that was just really peaceful. I know sometimes I've listened in on some where I'm too aware of the person talking, and this was not the case at all. So I don't know. It was just a perfect blend of being taken somewhere and being very relaxed. So that
Oh,
was
I'm happy
very
to.
very nice. So
Yeah.
I know people are going to want to learn more about you and continue on with you. And I was wondering then if you could explain. I'm going to put up the name of your gift. You have a gift for the participants, and you can explain that. I think
Sure.
might be able
So,
to.
yeah, so I find one of the easiest ways to start incorporating meditation into your life is a guided meditation before sleep, because sleep
Mm,
is like the foundation of everything. If we aren't sleeping, everything else gets a little bit tougher in life. So I've put together a bundle of 3 guided meditations called the Sleep Better Tonight Meditation Bundle. And it's just 3 audios. I think each one is between 10 and 15 minutes.
mm,
And you can just hit
perfect.
play, we'll be sleeping together, and hopefully you'll be getting a beautiful, restful night of sleep and incorporating that meditation practice in as well.
I love it. That's perfect. And you're right. Sleep does change everything, and it's so foundational.
It really is. It makes everything better when we sleep.
So that's very generous that you're giving people 3 meditations. And I know that people will take you up on it for sure, especially after experiencing how wonderful that was. Just that little short minute, few minute demo there. That was great. We will put a link below the video where people can connect to you and take advantage of that gift. And I just want to say that's really generous. And I just want to bring you on and thank you so much. This has been really nice. And I think you've taken down a lot of the worry and the stress and the pressure about doing meditation right. And hopefully it will just encourage people just start the practice.
Yeah, just start somewhere, and you can do it. Again, it's not that hard. It's not that serious. You can do it, and we can all just start feeling a little bit better. So
More
I appreciate
peaceful.
you giving me
Yes.
this space to talk about what I love.
Oh, thank you so much. We have a wonderful day. God bless.
Thank you.